Oh, what's up, internet people? We are on with another live stream here. And as before, you guys can post your questions in chat, or if you want to jump on through voice, we do have the Teams conference bridge set up here. There's a phone number in the conference ID at the URL there. Ask tim.tsreadystudio.com so you can join with Teams on your computer, or you can call in with the number on that page and the conference ID on that page. It changes, so I have that URL set up so you can always just go there to get the latest one. So how's everybody doing today? Let's see. All right. Do we got questions? We already got a couple questions in chat here. So the collecting debt says, hey, Tim, having problems with lifting. I'm assuming you mean with your bed, the print lifting off the bed. Do you recommend I upgrade the heater on my CR10 S5? I've closed the AC vent and tried to control the room temperature as best I can. So I am intimately familiar with the S5. I'm going to be frank, the S5's bed sucks. The heated bed is terrible on these machines because you have a 508 by 508 physical bed, and Creality decided to strap a 310 by 310 heater, which is literally just a CR10 bed, like a regular CR10 bed, bolted to the bottom of that plate. So you're actually only getting heating in the center of the bed. Now, the best way to do that and fix it is to replace the heater. So the main thing that people do, and what I've done with S5 builds, I actually have one sitting in my garage that I just completed last week for a friend of mine, is you put a Kinovo bed heater on there. Tiny Machines 3D is where I got my Kinovo heater from. I believe they sell them on their site. If not, you can also message them and they sell the heating pads. I use then our solid state relay that we carry to control that. And then it functions like a DC bed. That's the best way. Now, I'm also assuming that you're printing a material like PLA. PETG on the S5, not going to happen. The bed's not going to get hot enough. You want to have a 60C bed temp for PLA, 70 to 80C for PETG, and 100C for ABS. And I've not seen S5 that can reliably get above 55, 60. And again, that's only going to be in the center of the bed. It's literally covering like what's 310 by 310 on a 508 by 508, like 2/3 roughly. It doesn't have a full bed heater. So the problem is if you print a big thing, and even with some PLAs, they will warp, as I'm assuming you're discovering, and you have a hotter center and the edges are colder. So that contributes and actually makes the problem worse, because you have two different temperatures on the material that's on the bed. I'm watching chat to see if you post any other details. But one thing you could try, and this isn't going to be a guarantee that it will work, but I have seen this stuff stick down a lot of stuff that I thought would lift, and it hasn't, and that's the Vision Miner nanopolymer. Again, I'm not going to be like, oh yeah, this is going to fix your issue 100%. I always use it with a heated bed, and it does release, but it does stick stuff down to the bed very well. And we do carry this in our shop here. If you just search Vision Miner nanopolymer, you can try that. Again, because of the way that bed is set up, I can't be like, oh yeah, this is gonna fix all your problems, because of the way the heater is on that printer. So I'm not gonna sell you something that and tell you it's gonna work when I know it's probably, it's basically a 50-50 shot. I haven't tried it, and there's a small bottle, and we have a big bottle too. So, but that's something you can try. Ultimately, if you got the money, I would recommend going to the Kinovo. You're probably looking at close to $250 by the time you get the pad and all the other parts. When I install them, we do a circuit breaker in line before the SSR, so if there is a short or something, and we also run a separate ground line from the chassis to the bed, so the bed itself is grounded, and then we usually run a separate plug just for the bed. So the printer will then have two plugs, one for the control box and one for the actual heated bed. And the nice thing about that is you can then split up the load. So if you have a battery backup, you can keep the control box on the battery backup for power fluctuations, and your print won't stop, and you can put the bed right into the wall. Now the Kinovo bed pulls about 10 amps out of the wall, so you have to have either its own 15 amp circuit with not much else on it, or a 20 amp circuit. So you got to remember, you want to use for your house wiring, this is a general thing, you only want to use 80% of the ampacity of that line. So if you have a 15 amp line, that's going to put you at 12 amps. If you have a 20 amp line, that's going to put you at 16 amps. So, and that's continuous draw. Obviously, you can have surge when things kick on or whatnot, but you also don't want to exceed what you're doing. But the Kinovo heater for the S5, in my opinion, is a must-have, because the factory heater is pretty much useless, because it doesn't cover the whole bed. Let's see. Yeah, so he said here, yeah, PLA small parts in the middle are usually fine, but as soon as I try to print a large item, it always lifts on the edges. It's because there's no heat on the edges. I do not have a guide for doing that. If that printer wasn't so massive, I would drag it in here. But you have the, let me see if Tiny Machines has it. Let me see if they have pictures of it here. Oh, they have, actually. Tiny Machines has a video of doing the S5 install. Now, this is the older version of the S5. The newer ones have like an aluminum frame under the bed, but you just remove the aluminum frame, and then the heater goes on. Now, they do have where it has a standalone controller, and this is actually the dual zone one, so you can actually only heat part of it. I've only ever run the single zone one, and I just heat the whole bed, and that sucker will hit over 100 C in like 5 or 6 minutes. It's crazy fast how it is. They do have a standalone controller. That's what this is, and the problem with this is your printer board can no longer set the temperature. You have to set it right here, and it's completely separate. I prefer running the solid state relay. We do have right here AC bed wiring with an SSR for control, and we have a wiring diagram here. So this is how we do. So we have the 3 lines. It's a grounded plug. Make sure you use a grounded plug. You got the line going into the breaker, going into the SSR, and then out to the bed, and the other leg just connects directly to the neutral. And then we ground the printer frame, and then we run another wire from the frame to the bed, so that way if anything shorts out, it's got a path to ground that's not through your body. And then you just can use the existing wires that turned the little plate on and off to turn the SSR on and off. So this SSR is going to manage the AC power going to this bed, so you can still control it as you did your stock bed, except it's now controlling this massive one. I do have, I think they're in here. I know I have pictures of it. Let me see if they're easily accessible. Of when I was running the tests on the printer here. There we go. So this is you see the beefy cable I used. This is a 14 gauge cable here, and this is the kilowatt. And this is the S5. You can see it's pulling 9.94 amps out of the wall, about 1100 watts. And you can see here how I have this wired up. So I did actually take pictures. This is a good picture here, because I sent this to my buddy. So you can see here we have the separate power cord coming in, and then we have the ground wire going to a little crimp terminal, and then another one that goes with all the other wires to the bed here. And at the end of this is another ring terminal, and it's bolted to the bed. And then we have in here the 2 thermistor wires that come with the pad, and then the 2 power wires, which are these white ones. And you can see here, these are the original wires that went to the bed, and the thermistor wires. So these original thermistor wires were cut and then spliced in with the ones from the Kinovo. And then this goes to the DC input of the solid state relay. The line comes out of the cord, goes into the circuit breaker, and this is Tiny Machines housing. This is on their Thingiverse page. And then it comes out and then goes into the solid state relay, and then from the solid state relay out to the bed. And you can see right here the neutral is just directly crimped, and these are all heat shrunk, they're all insulated, and our SSRs do come with this cover here. But you still can get your fingers in there, so just be careful. You can get, there are printed covers, you can print a little box to throw this in, but my buddy was okay with this, so we just went with this setup, and this works great. I might even have, do I have pictures of it hitting 100? I might. I might have sent them on Facebook, which means they're not going to be in my camera upload. Let me see here. No, I don't have them on here, but this is the video I sent him. I did RGB the printer. just for fun. Put some RGB lights under here. We got a Hero Me set up on there. So yeah, we do actually have some. My buddy Joel has been helping me out with the custom builds, has been doing a really good job. So if you guys do want, especially if you're local, shipping a printer is a pain. If you're, you know, within a couple hours driving distance from us and want a printer built, we are taking requests for that if you want something custom built. And literally build out whatever you want. So there's that. I think I have another picture. Oh yeah, here we go. I have another video here. I was joking about RGB, and I picked up a kit and threw it on here for him just for fun. And there's all the different modes and whatnot. So, and it's actually a Bluetooth enabled controller. So this isn't run off the printer's board. This is just a standalone controller. You can see it right there in the corner. And then we powered it off the printer PSU. So a little fun. Bring it back. If I put the positive probe to the plus terminal and negative probe to the negative terminal of power and Enter 3 Pro, what's the value of resistor 105 of the board that's sitting in your parts drawer? I have no idea, and why you'd be even asking that question. I'm assuming you were joking. Good evening. Good evening to you, Steven. How am I doing today? I'm doing all right. I got some new cigars in that are like really cheap, and I'm excited to see how good they are. So that's what I'll be doing after this stream, is enjoying a cigar. It's been an interesting day. We took our cats to the vet, and one of them gets very scared when we go in the car, so he was in a carrier with another one, so I had to give 2 cats a bath because he couldn't control his bladder. That was fun. You guys ever give a cat a bath? 2 cats? I got some scratches on my hands. Let's see. Hopefully that video and the picture going over that was helpful. You'll be able to replay that. Let's see here exactly. Okay, Steven says bed temp. Should it be higher when you start printing or lower than increase for the initial layer? Same. I run the same temp throughout the entire print. I've tried tapering it off to save power, but I found that it ends up causing more issues with prints releasing. It really depends on the surface you're using. But even some ones like the Easy Mat that hold on really well, I have had parts lift when I turn the bed off before the print's done. Because you got to remember, as it's printing, those other layers of cooling, it's going to pull up on it, and that heat is keeping that, you know, even on the base. So I would not recommend tapering it off. What do you do if your printer gets jammed, like inside of it? I'm assuming you're talking about in the hot end. And the easiest way to try is to heat it up and try to push it through manually. So I've sometimes disconnected the PTFE tube and then shoved another piece of filament in there and see if I can get it to go loose. I've also had the extruder push the filament, and then I take one of those little like 0.4 millimeter, either the little drill bits, you can get them on Amazon or eBay, or the hardware stores might not have them, but little 0.4 millimeter drill bits, or the 0.4 millimeter acupuncture needles that a lot of these printers come with, and I have the extruder feed while I'm doing that, so hopefully, so there's some pressure back there, so if I break loose whatever's there, hopefully it'll push it out. You can also manually push it if you're you know, have a second person, or if you can finagle that somehow. But I also have had ones where like my layer, or not my layer fan, but my cold end fan or hot end fan, the one that's always on that cools the heatsink, I've had it where that's died, and then the filament gets bulged up in the PTFE tubing going down into the nozzle, like it's in the heat break. So you have let me grab a hot. So this looks slightly different than what you have, but they all have the same basic parts. You have, I'm just gonna use this camera. So you've got your cold end heatsink, which is the top part here. Your heat break, which sometimes they unscrew like this, or there's a set screw that holds this in, but you have your heat break, and then it goes in the heater block. Now, the job of the fan is to keep this cool so the filament doesn't melt before it gets to the heater block. Now, if that fan dies, or it's running too slow, or you put something on there that doesn't have enough airflow, I see a lot of people put what's it called? I see a lot of people put like the low flow Noctuas on there, and the problem is this starts getting hot and the heatsink starts getting too hot and the filament starts melting before it hits the heater block. One thing I have done is heated the hot end up, and now if you have a printed mount, take it out of the printed mount first because it'll melt it. But you want to reheat this up and then push other filament in and then kick the fan back on once you start getting plastic coming out of it. Now, obviously, if your fan's dead, replace the fan first, but the goal is to get this all hot again so you can push that plastic through and then keep feeding it through and cool this down. Hopefully that makes sense. There's a bunch of different tricks I've done. That's one of them, is intentionally getting this hot so it makes it melty again enough to push it through, and then keep feeding it and then kick the fan back on so this will bring it back down, and eventually you just get back to a normal state. Do we carry a heated bed to replace the artillery? Oh, that AL4, the plug burned on yours. I would just solder it directly, honestly. I haven't had any issues with mine. Mine's still going. But I don't know if we have any beds. You can message our support desk and ask for Aaron. He would know if we have any of those laying around, but to be completely honest, I would just clean up the plug. I've seen some people take like those the spade terminals and they'll crimp it on the wires, and those will usually fit over the two pins. I've seen a lot of ANET guys do that because they have the similar connector. But if mine ever has an issue, because I have one of these in my office and I literally just ran a print off on it, what I would do is just either solder it if you have an iron that can actually solder to the bed. Unless you have a direct heat one, like my Hako can do beds if I put the chisel tip on it. I have a 100-watt Weller that's in the shop that we use just for beds. I would just directly solder the wires on it, because those plugs can just wear out and then it arcs and then it burns it up. But if you just directly solder it, then that removes a plug from the equation. It doesn't happen again. That's what I would personally do. If you can't solder it and you're in the US, if you wanted to send it in, I could solder wires onto it and then you just splice those into your existing ones. But I don't know if we have any of those laying around. But I could put wires on it, like put some 12 gauge silicone on there and send you back a bed with some length of wire, and you can just replace it. That's also a solution. I was trying to see if I had any other pictures of that S5 build, but I think that's all I have. But hopefully, the collecting that, hopefully that gives you some insight onto how to do it. It's not complicated. It's just you got to make sure you do things correctly. So you're playing with AC current, which can be dangerous if done incorrectly. So you want to make sure you're not cutting at corners. Make sure your grounds are good, and just make sure all your connections are solid, because if your mains touches somewhere it's not supposed to touch, you can get electrocuted, and that's not good. So, anybody else have any other questions? You guys are awful quiet today. I'm not sure what you mean, Victor. Just shoot Aaron a message. He might have some beds because I know we had. But if the bed, is it the bed plug, or because usually both the plug gets charred on stuff like that and the plug itself. So the plug on the wires and the plug for the bed, usually both of those need to be replaced, which is why I would recommend just directly soldering it. I'm just posting a link there in chat. Just make sure you ask Aaron, or ask for Aaron, because he'd be the one to know what parts we have. But like I said, if you want to send it in and just cover the postage, I'd be more than happy to put some new wires on there, and all you'd have to do then is splice the wires into the ones that already came on the machine. Come on, guys, you're awful quiet today. Like the first couple Ask Tim streams we did, it was, you guys are really active and we had a couple callers, but last couple, I don't know, is this not a good time? Would you guys prefer if we did these later in the day? I understand some people are at work. Maybe that's the problem. Maybe we would get more people on if it was later in the day. What do you guys think? I'm just going to post a poll here. Copy. I'm not unboxing any printers. I got too much crap all over my desk right now. I am running, if you see this has actually got the 8-bit board in it. If you guys want to see the progress on this. So this is the 11X. I just call the 112, 113, 114, 115. I refer to them as 11X because they're the same board. This is a 60mm2 benchy with the new firmware. You see here I wrote it, so I knew. So 60mm2 in the slicer with the 11X board, and I'm running a 100mm2 one right now. Ugh. Yeah, we're starting to see where the 8-bit's choking. So I'm hoping, because people were asking about the 8-bit versus the 32 bits, I have a feeling that I'll be able to run a lot faster without these weird issues. And I'm running off SD, so we don't have any USB bottlenecks or anything coming into play here. But I will show you guys what I'm seeing on the one sliced at 100mm2 is doing. And this is usually what we see when we talk about like the limitations with the 8-bit boards. Let me see if I can zoom in here. If you guys can see, let me adjust the brightness here. Can you see those little zits on the hull? I'm sorry, this Logitech Brio is going away soon. So I'll actually be able to have high quality zoom on my bench here. But yeah, you can see it's choking on the curves. That's what's happening there. That is with the math change. I am going to reflash it without the math and cut some features out and see if that helps. But I don't think that has to do with the math change. But I am gonna rule that out and make sure that that's not what's causing it. I don't think that's what's going to cause what's causing it. So, we're 50-50 on the move these to a later in the day. Come on, go ahead, everybody vote. We got 44 people watching. Should we move these to later in the day so we can get more people on and get more questions? Let's see here. I'm at work, but I'm the boss, so I can listen if customers in here. I'm just listening. I don't have any questions. I have a question. Ferrules, do you think it matters for power in, heat bed, or hot end when doing a board swap or adding them for safety purposes? I always run just bare wires. Now, ferrules are better, and I'm actually thinking about putting ferrules on this one because of how much I swap the board out on. Actually, Aaron, if you could bring me, I know you're listening, so if you could bring me in our ferrule kit and the crimpers, that'd be great, because I want to put them on this because it'll make it swapping out a lot easier. It's never a bad idea to put crimp ferrules on. It's not going to hurt anything, unless you put the wrong size ferrules on and you create arcing. The only thing that I do not recommend, basically it comes down to, you either put ferrules on it or you put bare wires in the terminals. That's it. Anything else, like tinning wires, is going to be a pain. Let's see. Am I going to give the JG Maker artist a look or avoid it altogether? I've heard that printer name. I'm going to have to look it up, but I haven't. I think someone from them reached out to me, but I haven't really been following it. Yeah, that's an IDEX machine. It has a 128/64 LCD. Oh, it's a Kickstarter? Fuck. I won't do Kickstarters. Let me know if you guys actually get these. Don't do Kickstarters. Don't do crowdfunding or Kickstarters for 3D printers. There's too many scams. I have a Maker's Monoprice Select Plus, and just found your site. Was thinking of upgrading the firmware with your unified firmware, so I upgraded Marlin 118. I read the instructions. I mean, yeah, our release that's out for that one is based on 1191, and I believe if that's the Monoprice Select Plus, that's the Wano i3 Plus rebrand, if I'm correct. I'm just gonna Google that just in case. I believe that's the i3 Plus rebrand. Yes, it is. So, I mean, if you're up for it and you don't mind getting access to that LCD to flash the LCD firmware, it's not a bad thing. It gives it a lot more functions. It's a little bit easier to use. Sebastian from ADV++ project is the one who did the LCD firmware, and then we just built on top of that. And then the actual firmware itself, I did, and then rolled stuff in to make it work with the LCD screen, along with his other libraries he had too. I don't know if we're going to be porting that one over to Marlin 2 because it's not a very popular model and there's no real benefit over it. I might make a separate package just for that one. But I don't believe we have that machine here anymore. No, we don't. We don't have that printer here anymore, so I can't even test it with Marlin 2. But there's really no difference in print quality that I've seen so far between Marlin 119 and 2.0, especially on the 8-bit boards. Let's see here. What's the score with linear advance and S-curve together? I don't know what you mean by that. I do not use S-curve, acceleration, or junction deviation. Scott and I actually talked about junction deviation. We noticed it causing more weird issues with movement than it actually solving. And the classic jerk actually allows you to have a different jerk value for each axis if you want, whereas junction deviation is it's the same for every one, so it's actually less customizability. And I noticed that when you're doing quick moves, at least with the junction deviation, the printer would like hemorrhage almost. It'd be like and it doesn't do that. It does not do that with classic jerk on. Let me see here. Marcel, hi Kim. Oh, Marcel says, just came out, see you streaming, I see you, buddy. I have a question. I have a few models that are split part the way around my model in ABS. Can I get rid of those splits somehow? I'm assuming you're talking about like two physical parts. ABS you can actually just weld together with acetone, and I think you're going to have to resort to using something like a file. And then you can also use acetone to smooth it out afterwards. Acetone and ABS are really good for bonding the ABS parts. Can I talk about the upgrade a little? Is there a way to get back to the original software if the upgrade fails? I don't know if Wanhouse posted the original software, so I can't comment on that. But the upgrade, there's a video showing how to flash the LCD. Basically, you flash the LCD firmware, and then you update the board firmware. And that's basically it. So you follow the directions for the LCD firmware for the i3 Plus, and then you update the board firmware. So if you update one without the other, then the printer's not going to work. You have to update the LCD firmware and the board firmware. You have to have both updates because there's changes on the LCD firmware and the board firmware that do not work with the stock one on either one. So you can't use the upgraded LCD with the stock firmware. You can't use the stock, board firmware with the stock LCD. You have to upgrade both. Um, do, do, do. Jeff asks, I've read that tinning is bad because it causes solder to flow over time. Is this another myth? I only ask because of fires and such. No, it's absolutely true. Because the thing is, let me see here. There's a PDF. The problem with tinning wires, Phoenix Contact, which is actually the company we use for our board, for the Easy Board terminals. So it's really simple. So this is a tinned wire here. Okay. So the wire's tinned, it's put in the terminal, it's tightened down. Okay. It cracks the solder. Now current goes through it, it heats up, and it cracks. Okay. And it expands. Well, now it contracts, and now you have a gap. So even though this is touching, you're getting arcing in the terminal. Okay. This is from a company that makes high quality screw terminals as to why you don't want to tin them. So, like, the one common reason here is why the Chinese do it is to prevent wire strands from fraying when connecting to the terminal. Okay? It's to speed up production. That's the reason they do it. It makes it easier for them to build the machines because they're not having to worry about stray wires. Okay, but the problem is this happens right here. So you start out with this, the solder gets cracked. Well, now you got thermal expansion, and then it cools, and oh, now we're not making contact, and it's loose. So this is why you don't tin your wires. We even have a T-shirt for that. So if we go to merch, here we have a Teespring shirt or Teespring store. We literally have a shirt here that says tin wires are a terminal issue. So yes, don't tin your wires. Let's see. Tim, will you review the MakerBase 32-bit clone Duet 2 board? No, I will not. I don't mess around with the Duets, especially the clones. If I'm going to go to get a Duet, I'm going to get an actual Duet and support them. So they are open source, but there's just certain things I won't buy clones of. MakerBase does make decent stuff, so I'm sure it works. But if I'm going to play with a Duet, I want to play with a real Duet, which I do actually have. The printer's not here. My buddy took it back. I have a Duet. It's a Duet 3 in the Daedalus machine. Let's see here. J-Star says, interested in upgrading the stock hot end on my Ender 3 Pro to direct drive using the tough hot end kit you sell. Any recommendations on resources to become more familiar with the installation process? So if you're going with our tough hot end kit, I'm assuming if you're going to do direct drive, now you're doing direct drive with the heatsink integrated into the extruder, or are you doing the extruder with the hot end slid into the heatsink? Because there's two ways you can do it. Let's see. So I'm going to find a picture here. Give me 1 second. I'm pulling up pictures. So there's two ways of doing it, and they're the same as the E3D Titan and the E3D V6. They're the same mounts and everything. They're all directly compatible. So you've got the Titan where the V6 just slides into the groove mount here, and that's how this is set up. Or you have the heatsink integrated into the body of the extruder. So that heatsink replaces this polycarbonate cover, and then this block and heat break go right into the heatsink. So this is a more compact design. Does cost a little more because you have to get the heatsink. But you can see there, you're getting rid of this entire section here. So you are saving a little bit on weight. But like, thingiverse. Let's see, Ender 3, Titan. Let's see what mounts we come up with. So we have in our firmware pack a Titan mount that Tiny Machines made. I don't have any actual pictures, but these pictures are garbage. Let's see here. So this is like one here that has this is a Bondtech though. There's so many variations on all this stuff. I think the Hero Me has that stuff. Here's a Titan Arrow for the CR10 Ender 3. So you can see here the Titan Arrow on there with the cooling duct. And that's the direct setup. So like we carry the heat sinks and stuff. Let's see here. Yeah, so we have the heat sinks, and I believe there's also a kit. Should be under bundles. I thought I had a set for bundles here. Oh, right here. Durr. Yeah, here. So this is all this stuff in stock? Should be. Yeah, it is. So this comes with everything. Comes with a full hot end, the extruder, the stepper motor, the fan, the heatsink, all this stuff here. So you can do either a direct setup, or you can do direct setup with the heatsink. You do a Bowden setup with the separate hot end. So you can kind of do whatever you want. These are all the parts to do either or. You could do a Bowden where the extruder is mounted remotely, and then you have the PTFE tube going into the hot end, or you can do the hot end slid right into the extruder, or it comes with the heatsink to do the direct heatsink installation. So, yeah, so this is like everything you need, and then you select the fan you want here if you need a fan. So you check this. So, and if you also need other fans or thermistors, there's a bunch of add-ons on here. So I've run both. I got the Tough Extruder, which is our version of the Titan, mounted on quite a few of my machines here in a Bowden setup with the Crowley hot end and with our Tough hot end. I've also got a couple direct drive setups here with the actual heatsink method, the Aero style. It really depends on what you're going for. It's all personal preference. You know, one person may like one setup, one person may like another setup. It all comes down to what you have, but that package includes all the parts to try it out. So if you're not sure what you want, you can just grab that kit and be like, I'm going to try Bowden with, my Crowley hot end, or Bowden with the Tough hot end, or I want to do a direct drive, or I want to do the Aero style setup. It's got all the stuff in there, so you can mix and match and do whatever you want. So, but yeah, let's see here. I haven't played with the Hemera yet. I have one. I have not played with it. Guys are saying hang tight on Thingiverse. Let's see. I haven't heard of that. Hang on, let's see here. Shocker, Thingiverse is messing up. How many of you are surprised that Thingiverse is screwing up right now? Dear God, this thing must run on like a Pentium 3 server. Let's see, will this load? This one loads. Yeah, direct drive does make flexible easier. You can do direct drive on Bowden, or Bowden, whatever you want to call it. I've done it. It's just easier on direct drive because you have less distance between where you're feeding and where you're actually melting. So, Dan Adams, on the Solo, can I switch the stock extruder stepper motor with your pancake motor? You should be able to. I don't know if their pin wiring is the same, but yeah, you can. You might have to change some of the wires around in the plug. The plug is the same, but sometimes the center pins will be flipped. So like if you plug it in, it doesn't move or it just kind of shakes. Flip the two center wires. But that does have a geared extruder on it, so you could save some weight there. I don't think you're going to notice a huge difference, though, to be honest. Unless you're going to an aftermarket mount that the pancake would benefit you. Lou's here. Lou's one of the Marlin squad. You and Scott watching the stream? Hey, maybe, I don't know, have you guys messed with the those optimized build flags for the Melzies? Let's see what Umagine is. I haven't heard of Umagine. Let's see what's popular. Is there going to be Among Us on popular? Low poly retro characters. This guy, Flowalistic, he makes awesome low poly models. Universal pellet extruder. That could be fun and frustrating. I feel like that's something that you could do. And it might work eventually, but you're going to spend a lot of time doing that. I'll have to check this site out. This is pretty cool. I like this. This is nice. How many times you guys gotten to get a drink of water? Like from a faucet. And you don't have a cup. That's nifty. Ah! Oh, you can leave it on there. Ooh, I'm gonna have to print these. Download. Hell yeah. Alright. Cat you on her big screen. I figured as much. I know Scott tunes in, which I appreciate. We are coming up. We got I try to keep these streams to an hour. So we're at 2:43. So we got about 15 more minutes here. This benchy is almost done. I think what I'm gonna do is actually get the firmware ready to reflash on here. And compile it with less options and turn off the optimization and see if I still get the weird distortions on the benchy in the same spot at the 100mm/second print speed. So let's see what I have to do that. Let's switch our main monitor here. So these are the lines I added in. So let me just go ahead and get rid of these. I'm just going to put a note here. There we go. We'll just move those to a note. And I'm going to assume that we're not going to have enough space. So let me just kill off the boot screen. Oh, I should have to kill off the boot screen. Let's see. Let's compile here. Umagine. You know, I wish I had the time and the staff to make a Thingiverse competitor. I wish I did. That would be a fun project. What's your favorite, Jeff is asking, what's your favorite solution for part cooling with a direct drive converted ender running all metal hot end? I have 2 of these, and part cooling is their big weakness when compared to my Prusa. The Hero Me's fiddly. The Pet's Fang, I still like the Pet's Fangs. I gotta put more Pet's Fangs on my machines. And I'm not just saying that because Dave's in the chat. I really do like the Pet's Fangs. They're big, but you know what? They work, and the amount of weight they weigh over the Hero Me is not that big of a deal. I want this Benchy to finish so I can flash this and restart it. What are you using right now, Jeff, for your cooling setup on those machines? I need to set these streams to have a lower delay. It will kill the quality a little, but I'd rather have a lower delay. Do you know how badly I want to stop this print right now so I can flash this? I gotta have a complete Benchy though. I'm gonna put an O on here. Or I'm just gonna put a dot actually on the Benchies that have the optimized compile setting. DB 3D Dan says he's running a Pet's Fang. I like the Pet's Fang stuff. They go together well. They're sturdy. But the Hero Me does work well. I have one on that S5, and that thing worked great. Hey, we're done. Benchy's done. All right, let's take a look at the Benchy. Our 100mm2 Benchy. I'm going to upload the firmware. I was using that one plate that I got from one of our suppliers to test out, and whatever coating they have on the surface, that black coating, my parts kept coming off of it. So I actually went back to the floppy Creality one. I've got like a hump in the middle because I've been pulling. Basically, it's just been printing in the center. Which one are you talking about? Unified 2? CR10S with what? With what board? You need to be more specific. Did you clear your EEPROM too? Because if you don't clear your EEPROM, the E-steps will not take effect. Because if you change them in the firmware, but you don't clear your EEPROM like the directions state to, you will not get the new E-step settings. Alright, so I just updated the firmware with the different compile build. Let me reset the EEPROM. And we're just going to restart this, print from SD, 100mm2 Benchy, and we're going to let that go. Alright, let's take a look at this. CR10S, well, I can look at the code and tell you if it's working or not. Board config files. Let's see here. Easy board light, firmware, Marlin, configuration H. So if you have the CR10 or CR10S, and if you're using 463, you have to set this option here, because if you don't, this does nothing. So what we should be looking for, because I actually wrote the code in here. So if enabled, custom E-steps is going to take the value from there. And then if it's not enabled, it's going to check if it's a Solvol, because Solvol uses 402. And if it is not custom E-steps or Solvol, then it's going to go and set it to 95. So this option has to be enabled. You're talking about the easy firmware? Do you know the URL? What are the last what's the number on your compile here? If you did it yesterday, it should still be up here, and I can take a look at it. While I'm waiting for Dave to give me his number off the compile site, let's take a look at these Benchies. Sorry, my Sony. Come on. All right. So let me label this. So I just pulled this off. So this is with the optimized compile. And it's 100, and this is 1x. Okay. So now I know which one this is. Okay, I'll check yours out in a sec. So this is, the one on the left here is the 60. And the one on the right, I need to use different filament. I don't know why I keep using white filament. It's so hard to see on camera. So you can see the 60 versus 100. This is the 100. You can see here where it's kind of choking. Now, I don't know if that's because of the optimized code or if it's just the 8-bit board. I'm going to be more inclined to believe it's just the 8-bit board kind of choking there because it's on a curve. Oh, excuse me. Because the straight or diagonal lines, the simpler stuff looks the same. So, there we go. Well, hang on. My camera's like all flipped around. It's throwing me off. So you can see the 100 versus the 60. Oh, I forgot to set my Z offset because I just reset my... Yeah, if you reset your EEPROM, your Z offset needs to get reset, which I was talking to you guys. I wasn't paying attention. All right. Let's see. He said tag is Poobza. It's a weird tag. There we go. Poobza U2. All right, let's see. So you compiled here. Let's look at your configuration file. Okay, custom E-steps, custom 406. So that's correct. I don't see any other settings here that would be taking that over. So, and you have a CR10S, so it's going to jump into this block, set this. Yeah, custom E-steps is enabled, and it should pull the custom E-step value. So your E-steps are 406. So let me download your firmware.bin and pop it onto a printer. Where's an easy board? I have an easy board here. Just a moment. I had an SD card sitting here on my desk. Where'd it go? I don't know. It was here. Alright, hang on. Let me set my offset real quick. Should be 2. That's what I always do. It's always 2 on this one. I have my sensor calibrated. Get the shmoo off. No one likes shmoo. Get the shmoo off your nozzle. You don't want shmoo on your nozzle. Alright, there we go. And I'm going to store my settings. Configuration. Store settings. Alright, let's take a look at your firmware file. I got to find an SD card. Or is there one in this already? Nope. I just had one earlier. Oh, you know what? Put it up here. You had a thermistor blow due to a cooling fan, now nozzle temp. Yeah, you're unfortunately your CPU on that board's probably fried. I accidentally hit my i3 Mini with a wire brush, and then it was constantly reading like 180. I would not use that printer because it's not going to be reading correctly. I would replace the board. You said CR10V2. I believe we have those boards here. There's really no universal drop-in for those. We don't have one, but we do carry the factory boards. Let me see. TS Ready CR10V2 board. I know we ordered a small quantity of them. I don't know if we have them in stock. Let me see here. We do. We have 2 of them in stock here. So we do have the boards. Alright, so I just put the firmware.bin file on the SD card. hopefully this SD card is one that works. I have so many SD cards around here. I really need to throw out the ones that don't work. But we'll see. We'll see. All right, so now I can just power this over USB to flash the firmware. I am going to get a TMC connection here because the drivers are not powered, and that's normal if you're powering the board over USB. So yeah, that name is sus that just popped up in Teams. We're not letting them in. All right, so let's see. I don't know what I had flashed on here before. Let me see what the steps per millimeter is set to. So this is showing 406. Oh, you know what? This is a completely different version. I had a test firmware on here, so it's going to reset the EEPROM. So if I go reset EEPROM, reset, I go to configuration, it should show 406. Oh, hang on. Steps per millimeter, 406. So you're not clearing your EEPROM, David. And here, I'll even show you here. Now, it should auto clear it if you change, but only if you change version. So let me just set it here. I don't know if this is going to be enough to auto clear it or not. Store my settings. Now, if you can't hear your beep, it does say settings stored on the LCD. So here's what I'm going to do. I'm going to unplug it. I'm going to rename. So the firmware file right now is firmware.cur. So I'm going to rename it to firmware.bin. Put it back in the printer. All right, let's see here. Hello? Can you hear me?
Can you hear me, Tim?
Yeah, I can hear
you. I'm going to mute your live stream 1 second.
Why is this card not reading now? This card is so temporal. So you got a question I can attempt to answer?
Yeah, most definitely. So I actually have an Ender 5 I bought off of Facebook Marketplace probably 6 months ago, and I've been slowly throwing upgrades to it. I have a direct drive modular kit. I'm using the BL Touch sensor with it. I've had the Hero Me Gen 5 set up with it, but every time I printed the fans, whether they were lightweight or the one with the bracket, they would melt from the hot end no matter what. And I tried printing with PETG beforehand, and it was not going well. So that's why I was trying to do the Hero Me Gen 5 upgrade.
So give me 1 second here. So David, if you look at, now remember I set my E-steps to 95 and I hit store. Now I reflash the same firmware version and it shows 95. But if I go into configuration, reset EEPROM, hit reset, now it should show 406 again. There we go. Okay, so are you using a silicone sock on your hot end?
Yep. Yeah.
Okay, that's really weird. Because I know Andrew, who makes the Hero Me, he told me that he's had success printing in PLA as long as PLA is silicone sock, but my experience has actually been that anytime I print a duct, whether it's the Pet's Fang or the Hero Me, in PLA, I get it just starts sagging and melting essentially. So yes, I always print them in ABS. PETG is a little better because PETG can go up to 80C. But my personal recommendation for any hot end mounts is to do it in ABS or ASA, something like that. Okay. That's a higher temp material because ABS isn't going to start deforming until it gets over 100C. PLA is 60. And especially if you have a higher ambient temperature in the room too, that's going to contribute to how much heat is getting sucked up by those, little fangs that come down for the air ducts. I've always printed them in ABS just because I don't want to deal with it. I've had too many where, the Thingiverse file's like, oh yeah, you can print this in PLA or PETG and it's fine, but they've always sagged on me. So You know, and like there's a guy in the chat saying I have a Hero Me printed PLA and it's you know it's no problem. And I think it comes down to just luck of the draw because I have not had good luck printing in PLA for the ducts. I
Well, it only
have.
happens on the right side too. It doesn't happen on the left side at all.
Yeah, I mean, it's getting heat. There's no way around that. And especially if you have a silicone sock already, that there's really not much more you can do, to be honest, other than printing a different type of material.
Okay.
So,
So
go ahead.
I'm planning on I have a hot end and heat break from a CRV CR10 V2,
Mhm.
and I was planning on just using that hot end because it's similar to the tough one you guys have, but it's a full PET, goes all the way to the nozzle. I'm just trying to figure out what I should print with that. I have PETG. I'm wondering if I should be printing a separate mount for that and how. I don't know how I can attach that without doing another Hero Me Gen 5 mod.
That's big. So here's the thing. It's a V6 style hot end, but they use a different style block. I believe though
Okay.
it's still the same length as a V6 from the actual collar on the heatsink to the tip of the nozzle.
Okay.
The Pet's Fang has some options for that too, but I've also had where the Pet's Fang will sag. There is one if you just want something to get you by that's like a decent setup. There's the heavy duty one, which is an older mount, but the
Mm-hmm.
duct is farther away. And we actually have that one on our site right now in ABS that
Okay.
you can even buy. We were trying to get replace those, but it's been a very reliable mount. We have a few of them in our print farm that have been installed for over a year and a half with no problems. So, but even those in PLA, I've had good luck with those because um, the duct is farther away from the heater block versus the other ones where they get in there a little closer.
Mm-hmm.
So, um, yeah, Ben in the chat said if it's sagging on the right, through the right side, the silicone sock doesn't exist. Is that side not covered by the sock or is that covered?
Yeah, it's that portion of the sock where the thermistor and
Yeah,
the heater spot comes in,
yeah, and
and
there's really not any way to get around that to be
no,
honest.
the
Um,
PETG lightweight that I ended up doing worked for that side, but it broke. It's so thin it broke when I tried taking it off and
yeah,
replacing it.
I had some issues with the almost breaking. I did the one on the S5 that I had showed pictures earlier in the stream. I did that in ABS, and there were some times where I was like looking, I was like, "Oh, that's gonna crack if I keep going," so I had to be really careful with it.
Hmm.
Um, but yeah, David Petzel says the Evolve, that's one of his versions of the Pet's Fang, sets the
Okay.
duct outlets much farther away from the heat block.
Okay. Good.
Yeah. So we do have if you don't want to do like if you can't print for some reason and you just want something cheap to get you up and running,
Hmm.
we do have that heavy duty mount in our store. I'm actually pulling
Okay.
up here. Printed parts.
I've been honestly thinking about getting one of your tough hot ends anyways, just because I've noticed issues printing the HT PLA from Protopasta with the normal V6 hot end.
It shouldn't be that terrible, but
It's
this
it's
is
jammed
oh
four different
you do have to run
colors.
at higher temps like 235 is usually what I
So
ran that at.
interesting because I can print it pretty solid at 215 with minor stringing and even down to 205, but I found that if I go above 212 is when when it cools down, it will literally just brick inside of the heater block in
Sounds
between.
like you might be getting heat creep.
Yeah, it might be. That's why I've been thinking about switching to a tough. And then when I found out that the CR10 V2 hot end is a clone, but it's a full PTFE lined one,
Yeah,
I kind of like I was kind of,
we do have PTFE heat breaks for the tough hot end if you still
yeah,
want to do
I,
because we
I
have a
saw
lot of
that as
people that
well.
do the heat break and they do the tough tube in there. So, but on
Yeah.
the screen, if you see the screen on the stream, this is actually one of our ABS machines with the tough hot end setup. This is the heavy duty mount. That's this guy
Okay.
here. So,
Does it work with 5015s or
yep,
15?
yeah, the
Okay.
5015. So this has it's a single. The stock one is a single. But I mean, if you just want something cheap, to get you up and running, you could slap this on there because this is going to be a lot cheaper than if you like had us custom print like a part.
Yeah.
Because we just pre-print these, so that's why we're able to do them a little cheaper. But these are also ABS. But these work. These are an older mount, but these work well. They've got a nice duct on them. They just get the job done, and we've had these installed on some of our machines for over a year, almost 2 years on some of them actually. Because it's been over 2 years because this machine still has this setup. And this was taken when we were at our old location in Illinois, which was back in 2018. So, yeah, I mean, it's a simple mount. It works. It is modular. It's easy to throw on. And this will work with the CR10, the Ender 3s, that kind of stuff. But for just getting a printed part, if you can't get a part printed, this is a really cheap way to do that. And then you don't have to worry about doing anything custom or bugging anybody else for parts.
Do you know if it works with the printer mods direct drive modular direct drive bracket?
I don't. No, it's not going to fit with that. That's just for a Bowden setup. So, but if you just, I was just mentioning that because if you just needed something cheap to get you up and running, so you could start printing parts to do what you actually want to do, that's always an option too. So, but we can also do, if you find that you're having trouble printing parts, you need something in ABS, you can always send a request into our print farm too.
Okay, perfect.
So, yeah, go ahead.
Yeah, I had another question, but I don't want to take up too much of your time if there's somebody else waiting.
No, there's no one else waiting. It's actually the last one, so go ahead.
Okay, definitely. I have an Ant Labs ABL V3.1 on my just standard mount. It's direct drive. No matter how I shim the underneath of my Wham Bam board, every time I do a bed visualizer, it's like it's a V camber where the center is the lowest and the corners are always taller no matter what I do.
Have you tried intentionally shimming it like too high and seeing if the mesh changes? Because if you shim it too high and the mesh doesn't change, that could indicate that either the sensor's getting bad reading or something is pulling on it. And it could be pulling the probe up. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah, I know exactly. So right now I'm shimming it with just honestly, Post-it notes work fantastic because they're just small enough where they change it. So originally it was sitting about 0.0, 0.1, 0.15 on the corners, and now I got it to 0.08 with the shim. I'm just wondering if I shim it too much though, if it's gonna cause a weird.
Honestly, once you have the ABL, if you're only seeing like 0.15 D, in terms of how off it is, I would just leave it. You're not going to notice that in your prints. The whole point of having the ABL, so you don't have to have it perfect. Now you can. There's not going to be anything hurting, but it's kind of like, is it worth the time kind of thing?
Yeah.
Because you're not going to see the difference.
Well, so the reason why I started digging deeper into this is because when I do larger prints if I do more than one item on my print bed, they all come off. And I'm using PEX, and it's freshly cleaned, and I've also done an acetone wash on it too to make sure that
I know they recommend. I know they recommend that you scuff that surface because it doesn't hold when it's not scuffed.
Yeah, and I have steel wool that I use. It says isopropyl alcohol and steel wool with it.
I would say honestly, either you can pick up one of our flex sheets with the different surfaces. We use the PEI, and I have had our customers that have had both say they like the PEI better and it holds down better. Or you could also get that Vision Miner stuff I had talked about earlier and just throw it on there, and that will stick it down.
Okay.
And I know the Vision Miner does not damage their PEX sheets or whatever they call them. So. I really like the Vision Miner stuff. I have it on most of my PLA machines because it's nice because I don't have to always get that first layer absolutely perfect. That extra adhesion is, I think of it as like kind of like an insurance policy. Like I just want to hit print and know it's going to stick and walk away. And I don't care if my first layer is absolutely perfect. Like if I didn't, step at the right amount, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
But the stuff does work really well. It's why we sell it. And it was one of those products that when it came out, I was kind of skeptical of it because of the price, but now I have it on. It's in my office. It's in our print farm. We use it every single day here.
Do you guys sell it on your site?
Yeah, we do.
Okay.
So we do have a small bottle of it. Like I have, like this big bottle I have sitting here. I mean, I'm not even. I've had this in my office for 6 months here, and how far am I? I'm only this far through it. So it does last a long time. So, but the little bottle's enough to use it for, you know, a month on one machine and see how you like it. But we have like this even costs us a decent amount. We don't have very good margins on this, but it's really good stuff, and we found ourselves using it and buying it. I was like, you know what, we should just sell it, and then we have it. So
Yes. Okay. Because I was thinking about actually grabbing one of your textured sheets because I think they're on sale right now.
certain sizes are, and I know we just got. I don't know if they stocked them yet, but they were just finishing up the counts on the new stuff. So if anybody's watching and is wondering about like certain sizes being out of stock for the plates or magnets, they're literally, I can actually check the cameras right now. I think they're wrapping up the counts and the QC on them right now. They're supposed to get them all done by the end of the day today, and it looks like, is my big pile of shipping boxes gone? Oh, they only got a couple more, but they're doing them right now actually.
Awesome.
So
Perfect. Well,
but
those
yeah,
are the two big
and our
questions
plates
I
will
had.
work with the wham bam magnets. You don't need to change the magnet or anything.
Okay, perfect. Yeah, it's been very odd that like I can do like a single 1515 lightweight fan mount
Hmm.
and it'll print fine, but I tried to do two last night when I went to bed and about 30 or 70% of the way up it failed. So like when I got up this morning it was like good and then just a pile of spaghetti.
Yeah, no, and like I said, I think if you're getting your first layer down good, like you got that
Hmm.
squish and it comes off, like I have this other sheet from this is another just surface type that the manufacturer that makes our plates for us makes. Like it seems nice, but it doesn't hold well. But if I threw Vision Miner on here, it would hold it down. Hell, you can even throw Vision Miner on like steel or even your
Hmm.
aluminum bed, and it will still stick it down. It's I don't know what they put in it, but it's one of the few products that's like it just freaking works, and it hasn't. I use it on ABS, PETG, TPE, TPU, ASA. Like it sticks down everything, and they originally marketed for. I think they had on here. Yeah, like they originally marketed for like PEI, peak, nylons, that kind of stuff. So, but it
Hmm.
works. It works for all the filament types that your average person prints. So
It's PEI, textured PEI. So both the smooth and the textured PEI are gonna still have that same type of grip. It's just whether it's gonna have the texture on it, right?
yeah, yeah, I test them. I can't. There's no measurable difference between which one holds better over the other. Some people just like that texture look. It does look pretty cool. I've got a mix
Hmm.
of both. I have, I have, I have slightly fewer textured in mine, only because I already had flex plates on my machines. But my newer ones, I've been grabbing the textured ones for. So
Okay.
it's a
And
cool
the other
look.
is the other side smooth then, so you have the option to do either textured or smooth.
So the backside's actually blank. So if
Okay.
you wanted both, what a lot of people do is we actually sell the PEI sheets separately.
Okay.
You could actually get the texture and just grab the sheet and throw the sheet on the back. The sheet's listed as Easy PEI on our site, and you would just
Okay.
there's different sizes, and you basically just get the size that'll cover the sheet, like the size that's slightly larger than the sheet you're going to be putting on. Then you just trim it.
Perfect. Well, I know what I'm spending my paycheck on Friday. Thank
Make
you.
sure to use the code SockPuppet1020, and it'll take 5% off your order.
Awesome. Awesome.
Yeah, I've made that. It's a little joke going around, but I'm just gonna post it in there because it's active. Sock Puppet 1020. It'll take 5% off your entire order. There's no restrictions on that.
Awesome.
All right,
Well,
well,
thank you for taking the time, Tim. I appreciate
no
it.
problem. Thanks. I really do appreciate you calling in. I like talking to people, and other people get to hear the dialogue. The point of these is to kind of get all the stuff out of my head and onto a video, so it's it's useful to others. So,
Oh, definitely.
well, you have
Well,
a good one, man.
if I run into anything else, I'll reach out to you. I like that that you're doing this every couple days a week now, so I
Yeah,
appreciate it.
the goal is Monday, Wednesday, Friday. Friday is it depends on the day. But I'm trying to stick to it just for a personal goal of mine.
Awesome, awesome. Well, I will peep in on Friday then. Thank you very
All
much.
right, take it easy, man. It was nice
Bye.
talking to you.
You too.
Bye.
Bye.
All right. Well, that was fun. Um, how are you guys doing? Let me just catch up on chat. T minus 49 minutes. Aaron, you better. What do you mean? T minus. Oh, the plates. Okay. Ah! Can I play the clip? I don't have the clip queued up in OBS. I'm using OBS to stream today, not StreamYards. Which is why we're in beautiful, buttery 60 frames per second, but YouTube's probably killing my bit rate anyways, so. Any update on the Ziltech Gear 2 firmware? No, I am trying to get the 8-bit stuff done, and then that's next on my list. Let me see here. Oh, R Mills. What's a good brand ABS of ABS and PET-G? I like Coax. If you guys don't mind spending a couple bucks more a roll, Coax is a US company. I highly recommend them. Their customer service is great and their product is great. I've only had one issue with them and they took care of it right away for me. So I have zero complaints with them. I believe they're out of Appleton, Wisconsin. They're up behind the Cheddar Curtain there, bud. Does PET-G need enclosure? No. ABS and ASA, yes. Did you say the flex? Did you R Mills? Did you say the flex plates will work with the Ender without needing the magnet? So they will stick to the factory magnet if your Ender has one. But the problem with their factory magnet is above 60 degrees Celsius, it gets considerably weaker because they're not high temp magnets. So if you're going to print at 60C or higher for extended periods of time, or you just notice it getting weak, I would highly recommend getting our magnet. You could get the plate and get the magnet at a later time if you want to save some money. I totally understand. But I would recommend it. Aaron actually had an Ender 3 in his office. He was too lazy to swap the magnet out. Put our flex plate on it. It'd been working great. And then he did a big print that covered the whole bed. And the plate actually started pulling up because the magnet wasn't strong enough to hold it down. So our magnets are stronger than the Creality ones, and they also have higher temp resistance. So I would recommend replacing the magnet. Their magnet comes off pretty easily. If you heat your bed up to like 50, 60C, it comes off a lot cleaner than trying to remove it cold. So let me take a look here. Well, I don't think it was the optimizations. I'm already seeing on the hull here, it's got the same artifacts. So that tells me that it's just the 8-bit board not being able to hang. So, but I like to qualify my theories. So we'll let that benchy. Do you guys know how many white benchies I have floating around here? There's way too many. I just got a box of them. There we go. We'll add more to the box. So everybody stop by. I hope you guys enjoyed yourselves. If you have a question that you want to ask, we will be doing another one of these on Friday. And if I pull up the vote, let's get one more. If you guys haven't voted already, make sure you vote. That link. Oh, there we go. I'll post that. That link is to a thing. Should we move these streams to a later time? I'm thinking like 4 o'clock Central, 5 o'clock. I don't want to go to 6 because on Mondays, Jim from Edge Attack at 6 p.m. Central does his stream, so I don't want to overlap him. So we could go to like 4 or 5 Central time instead of 2 p.m. 2 p.m. is usually what I stick to. So if you guys haven't voted already, go ahead and vote because I want to see. Maybe we'll do it. Maybe we'll do a test. Maybe I'll do the Monday ones at 2 p.m. Central, and then the Wednesday we'll do at 3, and Friday we do 4, and we see how many viewers we get. I could also do that, kind of like an A/B testing sort of thing. So let's see here. I got the votes. It looks like it's close, but we got 59% saying, 57% saying yes, 43 no. We got 23 votes in. I do actually take your guys' feedback. That's why I'm asking for it. So please vote. I want to know what you guys are thinking. Or maybe, like I said, because we do it a couple times a week, maybe we just... What do you think about doing just one day later than the others? Would that be good? Might just do that. I feel like that's a good compromise. Oh yeah, Coax's colors are amazing. R Mills said Coax has some beautiful colors. Yes, they do. The way they color their filament, it's very consistent and very just what's the word? Like deep. Maybe what if I did the Friday one later in the day? Because we're rolling into the weekend then. What if we did that? Because today's Wednesday, right? Yeah, today's Wednesday. So maybe we do the Monday and Wednesdays like we do now at 2 p.m. and then the Friday one we do a later in the day one. How does that work? What do you guys think? Tell me what you think. What's up, Viking? I see you. Mm. You know what? I should reach out to Coax and see if they can give me like a discount code. Not even an affiliate code, just like a discount code. Because I think I've talked about them almost every single time on these streams because people ask. We don't have any plans to sell filament. I would much rather recommend you guys to companies that's their thing they do because they can do a way better job at it than we can. I would rather support other small businesses. Okay, so Friday. Okay, so maybe we'll do that. Why don't we'll do a later stream on Friday. And then Monday and Wednesdays we'll do 2 p.m. Central. Would we want to do them? Would it be better if I move this? If we move the early week streams up, or does 2 p.m. Central work pretty good? Let you guys watch my little test machine go while we're discussing. I also Aaron sold me his Sony A6000, so this Logitech camera will be gone soon once I get the parts. I need to get some cables here, so I can hook up the other A6000. Can't wait to get rid of it. All right, so here's the game plan. We're gonna keep the 2 p.m. Central Time for Mondays and Wednesdays, and then I'm gonna move the Friday one to a later time. I'm gonna talk to Aaron and some of the other guys and see what would work. Maybe I can even, because Joe from Project R3D, we're talking about doing a weekly stream. So maybe Friday will not only be Ask Tim, but Ask Tim and Joe, and it'll be, you know, an even more laid back kind of hangout thing. So, on that note, appreciate everybody that stopped by. Hope you guys learned something. I hope you guys had a good time. I appreciate everybody who asked questions in the chat, and thank you to Peter who dropped in and called in through the team system. So I hope you guys are enjoying these streams. I'm actually having a good time answering all these questions and, you know, sharing my knowledge with you guys. That's what I like doing here. I just wish I had more time to do it, to be honest. The business takes up a lot of the time, and if I could stream more than I do already, I would. So I just wish you guys all the best. Stay safe out there, and as always, happy printing.